Hi everyone, my name is Vanessa van Dijk, and in today's video I want to talk about whether moisturizer helps acne. Now, the usual explanation is that when the skin is stripped of its natural moisture, the skin starts overcompensating by producing more sebum. So the idea is that if your skin gets too dry, it produces more oil, and then that excess oil clogs the pores and creates more breakouts. And then if moisturizer works, it is often used to say that moisturizer helps acne because if you moisturize properly, your skin does not need to overproduce oil anymore. But I think this explanation is a little bit weird, because it makes it sound like the main problem is the oil. As if the skin is simply producing too much sebum, and the moisturizer fixes acne by stopping that excess oil production. But I do not think the sebum is the actual problem the skin is trying to solve. I think the skin is trying to solve a pressure problem. Because when the skin is stripped, it does not just become dry. The surface becomes tighter, more irritated, and less flexible. So it loses the ability to move smoothly with what is happening underneath. And when that happens, the skin can start producing more sebum, not because the sebum itself is the root problem, but because the skin is trying to protect itself. Basically, what it is doing is trying to soften the surface, reduce friction, and make the skin less tight. It is trying to create a protective layer because the surface environment became too harsh. So in that sense, the increased oil is not the real issue. It is a response. The real issue is the state that made the skin respond that way in the first place. And that state, in my theory, is pressure. If the surface is too dry and tight, the tissue underneath has less room to adjust. Fluid movement becomes less smooth. The skin becomes more reactive. And then the body tries to compensate. So when moisturizer helps acne, I do not think it is because it magically stopped the skin from producing oil. I think moisturizer helps because it reduces the pressure state that stripping created. It makes the surface less tight. It makes the barrier feel less exposed. And it helps the skin to move more comfortably again. And if that reduces the pressure, then the skin no longer needs to respond as aggressively. So yes, moisturizer can help acne in some cases. If it reduces that pressure, it can have a calming effect. But if it creates a new kind of pressure by holding too much water in the upper layers, then it can have the opposite effect. Because if the skin is already struggling with fluid retention and pressure, adding more moisture can make that pressure worse. And that is why the deeper question is not just whether moisturizer helps acne. The deeper question is what state the skin is in and whether moisturizer is reducing pressure or adding to it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.